це дозвольте щиро серце привітати Конгрес українців Канади з такою знаменною датою 50-річчя. Переконаний, що Конгрес має майбутнє розвиток. Бо без розвитку нас всіх очікує занадто. Прийміть щирі слова подяки, поваги і побажання, натхнення і сили цього розвитку. Я маю ще одну причину моєї присутності. Тут це дуже приємна причина, яку я маю виконати. В силу моїх професійних обов'язків, в силу моїх громадської діяльності, волонтерської діяльності, я мав нагоду знатися з дуже відомими людьми в Україні. До речі, я був представлений В'ячеславовичем Honourable, керівнику Народного руху, лідеру Народного руху України. І один із засновників Народного руху, мій друг, звати його Микола Паруський. Це той чоловічий, який разом з іншими заносив прапор України до залу Верховної Ради в серпні 1991 року. Я переконаний, що ви його багато разів бачили на екранах. Він такий козак з гусиками. Він тричі обирався депутатом Верховної Ради. Він нагороджений орденами за досягнення, зокрема, 3 орденами за заслуги перед Україною. Він повний кавалер партійних всіх. Він знаний ще тим, що він зі зброєю в руках знищував рашистських загарбників, власноруч воюючи на сході України. Він полковник Збройних сил України. І він мені розповів дуже цікаву історію цього року, про яку я дізнався, яка мене вразила дуже сильно. І тому я сьогодні на меті наприкінці маю вам представити людину, яку ви всі знаєте, яку ми щиро поважаємо. Але я хотів би висвітлити одну дуже важливу грань цієї людини. Її сміливість, її безстрашність, її прагнення до боротьби за правду і демократію. І це почалося не в останні роки, а багато років тому. Це історія, про яку я хочу розповісти, і про яку написав в своїй книзі Микола Паруський. Вона почалася в 1989 році. Прошу звернути увагу, що Україна не була незалежною. Ще 2 роки боротьби за незалежність. В той час Народний рух створював осередки по всій Україні. І Микола Паруський, як один із засновників руху, проводив в Дніпропетровську, зараз це місто Дніпро, установчі збори місцевої організації Народного руху. Вони провели ці збори. Після цього всі люди вийшли на Майдан для того, щоб провести мітинг. Але уявіть собі, Радянський Союз і мітинг – це речі несумісні. За проведення таких акцій людина очікувала якнайменше просто побиття, а то і арешт, і в'язниця. Як тільки розпочався мітинг, прибув загон сил спеціального призначення міліції з кійками, озброєні, з щитами, вишколились і пішли розганяти цей мітинг. Микола написав, що побиття було неминуче. І тут цікава річ. На Майдан виїжджає мікроавтобус. Звичайний мікроавтобус. А на даху цього мікроавтобусу знаходиться молода журналістка Канади і її оператор. А всередині мікроавтобусу журналісти, яких вона привезла на цей Майдан, тому що знала про ці установчі збори і про мітинг. Що сталося далі? Спецпризначенці, побачивши молоду журналістку на даху разом з оператором, зупинилися як по команді, розвернулися і потихеньку почали втікати. Микола написав в своїй книзі «Я ледве не очманів» і додав, що ця молода журналістка Канади врятувала від відбувальників від побиття, арештів і в'язниці. присутній на багатьох інших подіях, коли я бачив цю журналістку вже в наші часи. Я пам'ятаю першу демонстрацію багатотисячну українців, канадців, представників інших країн, бо прапорів було дуже багато. На чолі цієї демонстрації, на чолі цієї колони, а це було дуже холодно, повірте, я би не вийшов вишиватися. Я би одягнув щось тепліше. Йшла ця колись журналістка. Як Жанна Дарк. Під прапорами тільки України і Канади, і абсолютно тільки в одній вишиванці. Всі були одягнуті, вона була на землі. Виявляючи тим самим безстраші і показуючи приклад сміливості людей. Дозвольте мені представити колишню канадську журналістку, канадську Жанну Дарк, а зараз Deputy Prime Minister of Canada Христю Фріланд.
Я не думаю, що я маю право на такі великі компліменти, але дуже дякую за вашу присутність і дякую за громадську роботу, що ви з дружиною Христією робите. І привіт всім! Слава Україні! Слава Канаді! I am so happy to be here today. Alberta's wonderful Lieutenant Governor welcomed me here to Alberta and to Edmonton. But I have to say, I don't really feel I need to be welcomed when I'm in Edmonton. I feel that I am at home. And I see in this room so many friends of many, many years, and so many of the leaders of our community, people who have contributed so much for so many years. And, you know, today we know we're here celebrating the 50th anniversary of Cook in Alberta. I guess that means I was 6 years old when Cook was founded. And I actually can't remember a time when Cook didn't exist. It was so much a part of my life. And so I really just want to start by thanking very, very deeply our amazing Ukrainian-Canadian community, our amazing community here in Alberta. I want to thank the activists and the organizers. I want to thank the teachers. I want to thank the university researchers. I want to thank the organizers of community events. I want to thank everyone who has made Varaniki in church basements to raise money for important activities. I have to thank the Ukrainian dancing teachers and the Ukrainian dancers, of course. What an amazing community you are. How truly lucky I know I am to have grown up in this amazing community. So I really just want to start by saying, я щиро вам дякую. Мені надзвичайно приємно бути з вами сьогодні. I also want to point out, Cook in Alberta has now been around for 50 years. But Ukrainians have been here in Canada, and they came first to Alberta for a lot longer. We all know the story. We know how Ivan Pilipiuk came here in 1891 and then went back home to Holochina and founded the first Ukrainian-Canadian settlement not too far from here, Edna Starr, just east of Edmonton. Think about what it was like. I mean, it's starting to get cold already. We know it's going to get a lot colder. Imagine being in Edna Starr that first winter in 1892. They were not wearing Canada Goose parkas, right? How amazing those first Ukrainians were. And I have to say, as someone who grew up on a farm, who knows how important our farmers are to Alberta and Canada, I'm just so proud of Ukrainian Canadians, of our community, for the historic role that our community played in really, literally building Canada. So let's say thank you to all of those amazing first Ukrainian settlers. Now, the thing that is amazing for me about our Ukrainian-Canadian community is the way that our community has organized itself. Organized itself here through Cook for 50 years now in Alberta, and organized itself to build a community that continues to thrive generation after generation. I was talking to Jean here, who is here, I think, with the Lieutenant Governor, right? And his last name is Kuchinier. I think we all know that's a pretty Ukrainian name, right? And I asked him, does he speak Ukrainian? And it turns out he does. You know why? Because he went to Delwood to the bilingual program there. Guess what? I did too. So I'd like to say to Pani Dobrodish, дуже дякую. And I went to Rio Terrace as well, and I'd like to say to her, дуже дякую. But that is a remarkable thing that we actually have and have had for decades and decades now in Alberta. Ukrainian English public schools. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens very specifically because of the people in this room. I know you. I remember your organizational efforts. I was a small child, but I remember the work that happened to make those schools a reality. I remember the work that happened to be sure that we had the textbooks and the resources. I remember the work that happened to drag your, okay, I'm going to admit it, sometimes reluctant children, not only to bilingual school during the week, but to Ridna Shkola on Saturday, because always good to have a little bit more. So I really just do want to start by recognizing with the deepest gratitude the generations of work that has gone to building this community, to make it possible for this community to build Canada. And the fact that having started in 1891, we are still here and we're still sending our poor complaining children to Ridna Shkola on Saturday and bilingual school during the week. Дуже вам дякую. And you know, that work, it has built Canada, it has built Alberta, it has built our Ukrainian-Canadian community. It has also played a central role in building multicultural Canada. The Ukrainian-Canadian community really has helped to blaze a trail for how you can be a strong community, a community with a deep knowledge of and love of its heritage and its history, with deep community connections and institutions, and at the same time be 100%, that's not even enough, I'm going to say 1,000% Canadian. And that has not always been taken for granted. That's not how a lot of other countries work. And that's how Canada works. And it works that way for Ukrainian Canadians and for so many other communities in our amazing country. And so I also really want to thank the Ukrainian Canadian community and the organizers here for the work that you have done, that we have done, to be one of the pieces in Canada's amazing multicultural mosaic, and in so doing, to help the other pieces of the mosaic be there comfortably, confidently shining. So thank you very much, and Lieutenant Governor, it gives me particular pleasure saying that you are here with us. You are a pioneer as well, and I think it's an honor for all of us that the Lieutenant Governor is here. She's such a trailblazer, and that she's here wearing a vyshyvanka. So let me see you. Alors, pour moi, c'est un plaisir, c'est un honneur, mais surtout c'est un plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui. Je suis une fière Canadienne. Je suis une fière Ukrainienne canadienne. Et je suis une fière fille d'Alberta. Mes racines sont ici, dans cette communauté extraordinaire. Et je veux chaleureusement remercier tous les leaders de notre communauté, tous les gens qui ont créé une communauté si forte, si chaleureuse, dans laquelle j'ai grandi. Merci beaucoup à vous pour votre travail. Now, Ukrainians have done a lot to build Canada. Canadians continue to do a lot to build Canada. And it's been hard. You know, every time my kids complain of the cold, I do say to them, remember Ivan Pilipiv. They don't like that too much, but there you go. That was really hard. That was nation-building work. But I think we all know, and we are all thinking about, really all the time, the people who are on the front lines of nation-building. The people who are on the front lines of the fight between democracy and dictatorship. And that is the brave people of Ukraine. I am very grateful to Cook, to Lesia, to Odessa, to Cook across Canada for the work you have done welcoming Ukrainians from Ukraine to our country, and for the work you have done together with our government to support the brave people of Ukraine. He talked about that demonstration right after the war started in Toronto. Lesia was there too. And I have to say, wasn't it terrible? It was so terrible. We had a warning that Putin might launch a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, that he would. I remember the conversations we had with the Ukrainian government beforehand, saying, no, the intelligence is real. This is going to happen. Be ready. But it was still hard to believe that it was actually happening. And I really am so grateful to our community for taking that first blow and then rallying and saying, okay, we have to support the brave people of Ukraine in that fight. But, you know, I really love you guys. I love everyone here. This is my family. But as great as everyone here is, I think we all need to recognize how outstanding Ukraine is right now. How outstanding the brave people of Ukraine are right now. And, you know, none of the experts thought Ukraine would do it. I remember, and I am not alone, every single Western leader, every single NATO, leader of a NATO country was briefed. You know, the Ukrainians, probably Kyiv won't last for a week, 3 weeks at the outer edge. That would be really good if they can hang on for 3 weeks. And, I listen to that because you have to listen to it. You have to listen to the advice of experts. But that little girl who went to Delwood and who went to Rio Terrace and was quite literally raised by many of the people here, I didn't believe it. I knew. We all grew up singing, right? Ще не вмерла Україна. And our people had hung on for a long time. And this community knew that somehow Ukraine would fight back, that Ukraine would find a way to keep going, that President Zelensky would say, give me ammunition, not a rhyme, that they would be there. And it's so terrible for me that, it's been 2.5 years now that they have had to keep on hanging on and keep on fighting. But I think we all also need to recognize and salute the courage, the bravery, the intelligence, the resilience, the determination which Ukraine, which the people of Ukraine, Українці, Українки, are showing every single day. And I think everyone here knows they are going to keep on fighting. I think everyone here knows that they are going to win and Putin will be defeated. Ми всі знаємо, що Україна незламна. Ми всі знаємо, що Україна переможе. Сергій розказував, як я перше жила в Україні у 88-89 році. І в ті часи всі експерти казали, що Україна навіть не існує, що це не справжня країна, що вона ніколи не стане незалежною, що вона ніколи не зможе себе зорганізувати як справжню державу. Всі розумні західні експерти цього знали. Але наша громада по-інакшому думала. Наша громада інакше знала. І ми так само знаємо, що сьогодні, що Україна буде далі воювати, що Україна переможе. I think it's very important for us to remember, as much as we are supporting Ukraine, that it is Ukrainians who are fighting and dying. They haven't asked a single Western country, a single allied country, to contribute its soldiers to the fight. Ukraine has said, we're going to do it. We can do this. We are going to fight. If necessary, we are going to die to defend our sovereignty, our democracy, and the world's democracy. And that is remarkable that they are doing it by themselves. But we also know they need help. They right now are standing up to and holding their own against what we used to think was the world's second mightiest military. When I was in Ukraine after the war on one of my visits, one of the ministers said, people used to say, Russia had the second largest army in the world. Now they just have the second largest army in Ukraine. Yeah. But we know they do need help. They need all the help we can give them. And so that's what I want to say to you. And this is the work of Canada, and it is the work of the Ukrainian-Canadian community in Canada, explaining to Canadians, explaining to your friends and neighbors why this war matters so much. And that has given our government the support to support Ukraine. I am really, really glad that I can say to you today, I was talking to you before a little bit as a daughter of this community, a Ukrainian-Canadian girl from Peace River in Edmonton. Now I'm going to talk to you as Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister. I am proud, and you should be proud too, that Canada has provided Ukraine with the highest direct financial assistance in the G7 on a per capita basis. You should be proud that we've contributed nearly $20 billion in combined financial, military, humanitarian, and other assistance. Just this year alone, in direct financial assistance, we've contributed $2.4 billion. And that money came to Ukraine exactly when they needed it. I talked to Ms. Shmihal, the Prime Minister, Siddhi Mashka, the Finance Minister, and they let me know when they're running out of money, and that's when Canada, they know they can count on Canada to provide that support. Canada is an amazing country, and, you know, we are mightier than we think. You know, our economy actually is bigger than Russia's. Don't forget that. But a Canadian skill, a Canadian talent, is to work together with others. And we recognized when Putin launched his full-scale invasion of Ukraine, we had to find ways not only for Canada to contribute directly, but ways for us to work with our partners and allies to support Ukraine. And so, really leading up to the war, one of the things we worked on with finance ministers, you know, Janet Yellen and I would say, with the finance ministers, with the G7 finance ministers, this is a battlefield too. The economy, the world of money, that's a battlefield, and let's do our part. And so we did something really that people thought could not be done before it was done. And that was freezing the assets of the Russian central bank. $300 billion. So Putin didn't have access to it. But that was just the first step. It costs a lot of money for Ukraine to fight this war. It costs a lot of money to keep the economy going. And there were $300 billion of frozen Russian assets. There, frozen on the accounts of Western banks, even as Russia was doing devastating damage to Ukraine, killing people, destroying infrastructure, destroying power stations. And so I am so proud and frankly so relieved that we succeeded as a G7 in taking a hugely important step this year. And that is that we are extending $50 billion to Ukraine secured against those frozen Russian assets. $50 billion. This was a Canadian initiative, and there was a high degree of skepticism when we first started talking about it. And it's a big thing to do. But with time, we achieved a consensus of our allies, of our partners, that this was the right thing to do. And so I am really also proud to say to all of you that Canada will be directly advancing, as part of that money advanced to Ukraine secured on the Russian assets, $5 billion to Ukraine. That's important for practical reasons, but it is also important for moral reasons. It is important because it is not right for the brave people of Ukraine. It is not right for the resolute citizens of Ukraine's democratic allies, for people of Canada to pay for the destruction Putin is wreaking every single day. Dictators have to know that when they invade a country, when they break the law, when they destroy to rubble a country and kill its people, they will be made to pay. That the damage will be theirs to make good. And that is why this action, advancing Ukraine money secured on the Russian assets, is both important for Ukraine today and tomorrow, important when it comes to Ukraine's ability to continue to stand strong, but the principle is important too. It's important for Putin to know he is not going to get away with it. He is going to be defeated, and he is going to pay for the damage he is causing every single day. But as we know, the fight isn't over. We have to continue every day to find new ways to support Ukraine and constrain Putin. And so I want to tell you, and this is the first room where I'll be talking about this, the next initiative that Canada will be pushing ahead. And that is getting tougher with Russian oil. The time has come for us to be decisive about pushing Russian oil out of the world market. That Russian oil is quite literally funding Putin's war machine. We've taken significant steps to push that Russian oil out of the world market. Now we need to move further and work harder. And I believe, Canada believes, that now is the moment to undertake that work with our allies. And I'm glad to be saying that to you here at Cook, but at Cook, Alberta. Because Canada, as an energy power, Alberta, as an energy power, has a real voice and a real role to play in making it possible for us as a G7 to really push Russian oil out of the global market. Le Canada, étroitement et activement avec nos alliés du G7, a travaillé pour mobiliser les actifs russes gelés. C'était une initiative canadienne dans sa conception et dans sa exécution, parce que le Canada a toujours été catégorique. La Russie, l'agresseur, doit payer pour la destruction qu'elle a causée. Ni les démocraties, ni leurs citoyens, ni les braves peuples de l'Ukraine ne peuvent pas à eux seuls payer pour la guerre illégale et barbare du Poutine. Aujourd'hui, nous menons des efforts pour réduire les revenus provenant du pétrole russe. Il est essentiel de retirer le pétrole russe du marché mondial pour vider les coffres de Poutine et assurer la victoire de l'Ukraine. Now, I'd like to conclude by, I spoke to you first as a daughter of this community. Then I spoke to you as your Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister. Now I'd like you to help me to speak directly to the people of Ukraine. Now is a consequential moment in the world. And I think now is a moment when it is more important than ever for Canada to be very clear that we support Ukraine. To be very clear that Ukraine must be victorious and that Putin must be defeated. To be very clear that we supported Ukraine from the beginning. Let's not forget, Canada has been training Ukrainian troops since 2015 with Operation Unify. Yeah! We are there today, and I really hope you will join me in sending the strongest possible message to Ukraine that we will be there in the future. They're counting on us. And so I do want to say, Canada recognizes that the fight in Ukraine is a fight between light and darkness. This is a fight between good and evil. This is a fight between democracy and dictatorship. It is only Ukrainians who are putting their lives on the line, who are fighting and who are dying. But they are fighting for our democracy. They are fighting for the rules-based order that guarantees the sovereignty of every single country. And that is why we are so clear and so firm in standing with Ukraine today, and in standing with Ukraine tomorrow, and in standing with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Au Canada, ici, à Edmonton, je veux être très très claire que le Canada comprenne ce qui se passe à l'Ukraine. Nous comprenons que c'est une guerre entre la démocratie et la dictature. Nous comprenons que les Ukrainiens, oui bien sûr, ils se battent pour leur pays, pour leur démocratie, pour leur souveraineté, mais ils se battent pour nous aussi, pour notre démocratie, pour la souveraineté de chaque pays du monde. Et pour cette raison, je veux être très très claire. Le Canada est là aujourd'hui pour l'Ukraine et nous continuerons d'appuyer l'Ukraine et nous continuerons de travailler avec nos alliés, de rallier nos alliés pour que nous tous puissions continuer d'appuyer l'Ukraine. And I do just want to end by saying that in Ukrainian so that people in Ukraine can understand me directly and can hear a Canadian leader assuring them in the beautiful language that I learned in schools here in Edmonton that we will support them. Я хочу звернутися безпосередньо до України, до українців і до українок. І я хочу вам сказати від імені уряду Канади, від імені людей Канади, що ми вас підтримуємо сьогодні і будемо вас завтра підтримувати. Ми розуміємо, що ця війна проти аморальної і легальної російської агресії, так, це ваша війна. Так, це ваша війна. Ви воюєте за свою демократію. Ви воюєте за свій суверенітет. Але ми так само розуміємо, що ви воюєте за нас усіх. Ми розуміємо, що це війна добра проти зла. Це війна світла проти темноти. Це війна демократії проти диктатури. І тому ми надзвичайно горді вас. Ми надзвичайно вдячні вам. Ми стоїмо з вами сьогодні і будемо стояти з вами завтра. Ми переконані у вашій перемозі. І я думаю, що ви зараз почуєте від цього залу. Слава Україні! Героям слава!